Welcome to this edition of Midweek Geek here on Geek Therapy Radio. I am Johnny Hemberger, otherwise known as your mental curator here on Geek Therapy Radio, and this is the 2018 Midterm Election episode. As you may have noticed, there was no intro to this edition of Midweek Geek. There's not going to be any bump music out of this Midweek Geek. And I'm not going to do any long sponsor spots. I will mention the sponsors at the end, just who they are, but I'm not going to chew up minutes here, precious minutes, by doing long ads for them. Plus, I don't think it's 100% appropriate, which you will realize as we get into it. All I wanted to do on this Midweek Geek, as it coincides perfectly with the 2018 midterm elections, is just plead with my country, plead with voters, plead with all my listeners to Geek Therapy Radio, plead with anybody stumbling on this on any platform, YouTube, Spreaker, iTunes, whatever, iHeartRadio app, whatever you're listening to this on or watching this on. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me. I don't know how long this is going to be. Could be 5 minutes, could be 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Who knows? We'll see. But the plea is just that, right now, as of recording this, it is 5:11, 5:12 Houston time, Central Standard Time here in the United States. But this message is really, it's evergreen, as they say in radio. It doesn't matter if you're watching this in 2020, 2021. Doesn't matter if you're listening to this or watching this right now tonight during the midterm election. What I have to say here holds true and is my genuine plea, no matter what day or time it is, no matter the outcome of the election, no matter the outcome of any election. My plea is just that you remember what's really important in life. I'm not even telling you to go vote. I just want you to remember, amidst all the turmoil, what's really important. One reason I started Geek Therapy Radio was that I was so disheartened by all the division that's in our country, at least our own country. The very notion of hating somebody you don't even know over something as trivial as political opinion differences. All the mudslinging left and right, from the left to the right, from the right to the left. All this ridiculousness. Republicans are racists. Democrats hate America. It's tiring. And it's not true. We all have our differing political opinions. That makes up a fraction of who we are. Your neighbor's political opinion is only a fraction of who they are. Your political opinion is only a fraction of who you are. We have so much more in common. And I'm not saying that voting isn't important or that politics aren't important or that you should be uninvolved in politics. I'm not saying that. Yes, you should vote. Yes, it is important to know where you stand politically. But don't hate your neighbor because they don't stand where you stand politically. Don't assume that your neighbor is a racist or a communist or hates America or hates our troops or whatever. That's ridiculous. My show is a miracle. It is a miracle that it exists. It broadcasts here in Houston on KPRC 950 AM, and I'll just say it. it is surrounded on all sides by political discourse. Radio steeped in politics. Shows that wouldn't exist if it weren't for politics. It's all politics everywhere. Every media outlet, it's all politics. And I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong with that. Just be aware of it. Just be aware that the information you receive from any place is designed to, in the end of the day, sell you something. So while my show exists in between lots of wonderful shows, especially here on KPRC 950 AM, Jesse Kelly, Kenny Webster has his show, Michael Berry over on KTRH. There's lots of great shows that have strong political opinions. Every single one of those hosts, I promise you, because I know them personally, is a wonderful person. A wonderful person. They are amazing people. But the fact that Geek Therapy Radio, a show that deals with hobbies and interests and passions and geek things that could exist in that sort of landscape, radio and political landscape, is a miracle. And I know there's a million geek podcasts out there. That's what I'm talking about. Podcasts are the realm where anything can exist. You can have a podcast about cameras. You can have a podcast about microphones. You can have a podcast about fishing, whatever. That's what podcasts are there. That's why podcasts exist. There's a million geek podcasts. What I'm talking about is that Geek Therapy Radio strives to be more than just a geek podcast, in the fact that it exists on terrestrial radio for one of the biggest broadcasting corporations on earth, iHeartMedia, is an absolute miracle, and I'm very grateful for that. So this ties in with everything I'm talking about politically now with the midterm elections here in 2018 or whenever you're listening to this. No matter if who you voted for wins or loses, we need now more than ever people to take the high road. And I can't help but imagine and know that there's going to be a lot of people tonight, tomorrow, after the results are in, that are going to be rejoicing, not for any sort of outlook for the betterment of our country, but they're going to be rejoicing because they won and they stuck it to the other guy. That is not how we should conduct ourselves in modern society. And that's exactly what I'm talking about today. Don't hang the results of this election over your neighbor's head. Don't hold the results of this election over your own head. If the party that you supported lost in this election, I promise you, from the bottom of my heart and with every shred of scientific evidence, that the sun will rise tomorrow. So try not to lose heart. If you've been so invested in this political landscape that you need to take days off of work because you're just you emotionally can't handle it. If that's the case, stop. And like I say, touch 5 things around you. Rebase yourself. And remember what's really important in life. If you're feeling horrible, call your friend. Better yet, call your friend, if hopefully you have some, that are Democrat or Republican or whoever is from a party that lost or the party that won. Just someone who's different politically than you. Call them up or send them a Facebook message or email them or something. And just be human with them. Try to connect with them on a human level. Talk about Star Wars. Talk about art. Talk about music. Reconnect and remember, and that doesn't make sense, remember why that person is in your life in the first place. And I promise you will see That it's not because they voted for Ted Cruz. It's not because they voted for Beto O'Rourke. See, you pronounced that right, Beto. It's not because of who they voted for. It's because of who they are. That's not to say that people can't be crappy people. Being a crappy person does not matter your party affiliation. You can be a real dirtbag and be a Democrat. You can be a real dirtbag and be a Republican. I promise you that. That's a truth. But there's people in our lives, friends and family, coworkers that we like. Try to remember why you like them. And I promise you it's not for political differences. Wouldn't it be boring if everyone shared the same political ideology? What a horrible world that would be. If anything, we need each other on differing ends of the spectrum to keep the other in check. We need that. But don't forget, again, what's important. Who you voted for at the end of the day is just one facet of who you are. One. If the totem pole of your life is filled with all these different interests, in loves, in passions, in hobbies, who you voted for is just somewhere in there. It's just somewhere in there in that mix. It is not the whole mix. It is not the whole totem pole. When you're baking a cake, it's not all just flour. You can't bake flour into anything that's usable. Flour by itself. You need other ingredients to make something beautiful and tasty. So who you voted for is just one of those ingredients. It's not the only ingredient. So I beg you and I plea that what you take away from listening to this is remembering who you are outside of politics, getting to know your neighbor, who they are outside of politics, and to just take a breath, because I promise you everything's going to be okay. Politicians are just people, and they will let you down, even if you voted for them. Your friends, your family, those are the people there to hold you up, even when you don't know how to hold yourself up. And they'll hold you up no matter who you voted for. So just remember that. Keep your head up tomorrow. Whenever you're listening to this, keep your head up. The division has no place. The division isn't important. We've been fooled into this division. Fooled into it. Fooled into being bamboozled by the hatred, in the rage, in the fear-mongering. We've been fooled by it. It's not real. So remember that tomorrow. Wake up. Sun's going to rise. Like I said, it's going to rise. It's a new day. Whether your party, who you voted for, won or lost. Embrace your geek thing. Embrace your family. Embrace your brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers. That's what's important. That's all that matters. And that's all I really have to say about that. Thank you for sticking with me. My radio show sponsors are Audi Central Houston and Kung Fu Saloon. So be sure to check them out. AudiCentralHouston.com, KungFuSaloon.com. Not going to do any pitches for them. Wouldn't be appropriate. Just going to mention them. But that's it. Take care, everybody. Chins up. Life's about more than politics. Take care, everybody. I love you all.